Okay, so let's start, no? Saan naputol yung kanina? So when we say object, no, under expenses, so yun lang naman yan. Yung hindi ko nabanggit, yung mga capital outlays, no? Anyway, we will discuss it here. So this is all about chapter 3, no? So chapter 3 is all about the revised chart of accounts, no? Okay, so the revised chart of accounts. So the revised chart of accounts, so ito yon, no? So it is divided into 5 groups: assets, liabilities, income, and expense. By the way, no, chapter 3 or the revised chart of accounts, makikita mo din naman siya, mada-download mo siya through a circular, no? It's it's COA circular number 2013-002. Okay? So that's it. So account group, so ganito siya hinahati. The account group, then major account group, sub-major account group, general ledger accounts, and general ledger contra accounts. Dito medyo familiar ka na kasi mas familiar tayo dito sa mga elements of our financial statements. So that's it. So under the elements, siguro hindi ko naman naiisa-isahin yung elements sa inyo. No? Okay. So pag assets without contra account, so ganyan lang siya. Cash in cash equivalents, cash on hand, cash collecting officer, and then the general ledger contra assets accounts. So ganyan siya ginawa. So as you can see, eto na siya ngayon. So ang cash on hand is 10101,010 pag cash collecting officer. So yan yung mga kino-collect natin. Pag petty cash, 020. Pag cash in bank, depende siya, yan, etc. And so on and so forth. So these are the assets, no? As you can see. So may cash, may investments, may receivables, inventories, investment property, PPE, infrastructure assets, buildings. Don't worry class, hindi ko rin yan nakakabisado. Machinery and equipment, furniture and textures, lease assets, biological, etc. Then we have now your liabilities. But before that, I just want to read. So alam niyo naman na yung assets. Now when we say assets, these are economic resources of an agency that are recognized and measured in conformity with the general accepted accounting principles. So when we say assets, physical object na pag-aari natin, or maybe intangible assets, no, na may cost or may value. So it could be valued, pwedeng at cost, at current cost, at net realizable value, fair value, and recoverable amounts. How are we going to know that? Actually, kung ano yung ginagamit sa private accounting, ganun din. Let's say inventory. Paano ba natin in-account ang inventory? Lower of cost or net realizable value? Ang PPE, how do we account for it? Diba we account for it at cost? Diba? So, ang cash and cash equivalents, we account for it face value. So, ganun lang din siya, no? Okay, when we say liabilities, siguro alam niyo na yun. Pag liabilities, these are economic obligations of an agency that are recognized and measured in conformity with accounting principles. Equity, residual interest lang yan. Income, that's your gross inflow from your economic benefits, and expense, it's the decrease in economic benefits. Siguro tingnan na lang natin, no? Ayan. Yan yung mga interagency payables, government equity, then income and expense na tayo, tax revenue, service revenue, business income, assistance and subsidy, shares and grants. Then expenses, we have personal services. Ayan, makikita mo sa personal services, so siguro dito na lang ako mag-focus, no? Salaries, other compensation, then lahat ng mga benefits mo yan, lahat ng contributions mo. Okay, nandyan na lahat ng makikita mong benefits. So, meron kang clothing, subsistence allowance, laundry, honoraria, cash gift, year-end bonus, other bonuses and allowances. Then you have your contributions, your retirement and life insurance, pension, terminal, etc. MOOE, ito yung mga MOOE na binabanggit ko. Traveling expenses, local or foreign, training, scholarship grants, office supplies, accountable forms, non-accountable, animal, zoological, supplies, etc. Ayan, madami yan plus. Yan. Repairs and maintenance, direct costs, non-cash expense or depreciations and amortizations and impairments. Okay. And we have also the descriptions, no? Ayan, makikita mo yung mga descriptions nila. Okay. So, hindi ko naman napapakabisado sa inyo yan, class, because ang dami-dami naman yan, di ba? So, all you need to do is, siguro pasadahan mo lang siya ng minsan, no? So, actually, that's chapter 3, no? So, dali lang ang chapter 3. So, saglit lang tayong nag-discuss, di ba? Actually, these are, kailangan mo lang dito is basahin, no? Okay, so that's it, no? Then, we will continue, no? Dahil nandito na rin lang tayo, we continue now on our chapter 4. Okay, I'll just go on chapter 4. Okay, and next, let's have chapter 4. Okay, the next discussion will be on chapter 4 of our book, which is the accounting for budgetary accounts. So after knowing the different codes and after knowing the different accounts to be used, no, we are now ready for the discussion for the accounting for budgetary accounts. Actually, class, ang government accounting, it all starts with budget. After the budget, di ba, nandun nga kanina, sabi niya, budget preparation, budget execution, accounting, then auditing. So, yun, dun iikot yun eh, no? Dun siya iikot, okay? So, now, let's start, no? What are the lessons that we are going to discuss here? So, we have 3, the accounting system, the budget cycle, and the reporting requirements. Okay, so let's start. So, under the accounting system, meron tayong tinatawag na, okay, but before that, Section 29 of the 1987 Constitution states that no money shall be paid out of treasury except in pursuance of an appropriation by law. So meaning walang pwede tayong i-spend without appropriation. So we have discussed the different appropriations, di ba? Yung mga nasagaa, supplemental appropriations, continuing appropriations. So pag wala yon, hindi na, wala. Ibig sabihin ng appropriations, there are law, no? They are laws that was enacted, no? Na enact yan na law para gastusin natin yung government funds. Without it, we cannot use or we cannot spend any money from the government. Okay, so let's move on. Now, accounting system, no? All budgetary, as an introduction, all budgetary accounts, appropriations, allotments, and cash allocations are based on the General Appropriations Act. So that's the general rule, no? Pag sinabi, ayan, siguro it's best no, na maintindihan natin when we say appropriations, allotments, and cash allocations. Pag sinabing appropriations, it was enacted by law. Budget pa lang siya. Pag sinabing allotments, meaning we already allotted for it. Pag may cash allocations na, may cash na for that. So yun lang naman yung differences nila, no? Okay, now let's start with the accounting system. First, let's have let's see what is the general accounting plan. Actually, this general accounting plan composed of 4. Ito yun. First is the budgetary account system. Next is the receipt and income deposit system, disbursement system, and last is the financial reporting system. So, tingnan natin to, ha? Okay, so this is siguro I'll out ko to so I can share the yan. Okay, so hindi na to automatic. Okay, this is now your new government accounting system or the plan, accounting plan, no? So meron din yan para sa LGUs, but this is for the national government agencies. So this is how it runs. So first, we have your income and collection. Nakikita nyo naman, nakikita nyo ba? Okay. Income and collections. So after your billing, magkakaroon tayo ng collections. So ito yung mga yon, from the source documents to reports, then to the books of original entry. Alam niyo yung books of original entries? That's your journal. Then your books of final entry, that's your ledger. Then you have your trial balance, then financial statements. So ganun lang siya umiikot. So meaning any income from OR, to summarize mo siya sa RCD or reports of collection and deposits. Then meron kang journal entry voucher. Then ilalagay mo siya sa cash receipts journal. Then meron siyang general ledger or subsidiary level ledger, and then your trial balance to make it financial statements. So yun yung income. For budgetary accounts, ganun din, no? Receipt of allotment, release of allotment, incurrence of obligations. So pag sinabi ng receipt of allotment, di ba may appropriations, yun yung GAA. Pag sinabi natin receipt of allotment, naka-receive na tayo ng allotment from national na meron daw tayong, let's say, transportation expense, 100,000. Na-receipt lang natin yung allotment, pero wala pa. Now, nung ni-release yun, sasaro na natin, ayan na siya. Then, nung nagkaroon ng obligations, so ibig sabihin ng obligations, may nag-travel na, we're talking of transportation eh. Pag nag-incurred yung obligations, so ibig sabihin meron na tayong kailangang bayaran. Dito na yan mamaya sa disbursement. But the budgetary accounts, ito yun, i-record mo siya lahat dyan into GL. Siguro as we go along, maiintindihan mo kung paano siya. Then of course, the disbursement, meron ng obligation. Pag sinabi natin obligation, we are obliged to pay na kasi meron ng naganap na travel. So all you need to do is to pay. Then it's either payment of cash or payment by check or payment by ADA. Yan mamaya, chapter 5 yan actually. That's the next lesson. And of course, registries na tayo. And then financial reporting. Yung mga registries nire-record din nila yun aside from the financial statements here. The balance sheet, the cash flow, expenditures and income. So yan. That's the National Government Agency's General Accounting System Plan. Mahirap ba madali? Madali lang yan. Akala mo lang sa umpisa mahirap. So, just to summarize, ibig sabihin naman, lahat ng income should be may source documents, isa-summarize mo, journal entry mo, ilalagay mo sa books, i-general ledger, then trial balance. Ganun din sa disbursement, di ba? Ang medyo bago lang sa ating class dito, itong budgetary accounts. So, masasanay ka rin, no? From appropriations, merong receipt ng allotment, release of allotment, obligations. So ito yung mga budgetary accounts. Actually, itong mga budgetary accounts na to, yan yung ilalagay natin mamaya sa mga registries. Okay, meron tayong tinatawag ng mga registries. Okay? So let's go back to our PowerPoint. Okay, next. Let's share. Okay, so that's it. I hope you understand, no? So budgetary account system, the receipt and income deposit, the disbursement, and the financial reporting as shown in the general accounting plan. Okay, now, before we discuss further, no, there are 8 fundamental principles, no, of fiscal operations. So ibig sabihin, ito yung mga dapat nating tandaan when we are doing business for the government, no? Number 1, yung nabanggit ko na kanina sa introduction. No money shall be paid out of any public treasury or depository except in pursuance of an appropriation or other specific statutory authority. Okay? So pag may nagsabi na pwede mong gawin yon or gastusin yun, then be it. Okay? Law should tell it. Without a law telling it na pwede mo siyang gastusin, then you cannot do it. Paano namin malalaman? There are certain circulars, memos. Let's say, halimbawa, siguro kung naririnig nyo yun, every year, inaabangan namin yung, ano man tawag doon? Yung may other bonus kami na ang magde-decide doon is the president. So, I forgot SRA yata. SRI. Special, I forgot. Siguro later I'll remember. I forgot, wala ng perang involved. Okay, 2. Government funds or property shall be spent or used solely for government purposes or public purposes. Of course. 3. Trust funds shall be available and may be spent only for the specific purpose of which the trust was created. Fiscal responsibility shall, to the greatest extent, be shared by all those exercising authority over the financial affairs, transactions, and operations of the agency. Meaning to say, lahat ng nag-sign sa isang voucher, so sa isang documents, as to nag-certify. Mamaya may on chapter 5 madidiscuss yun who are responsible. So lahat yun, they are responsible for it. Then next, we have number 5. Disbursements or disposition of government funds property shall be invariably bear the approval of the proper officials. For national governments, kung sino yung department heads, sila yan normally, or head of the agency. Okay, sila ang For province, it's the governor. For municipalities, it's the mayor. For barangay, it's the captain. For the regional offices, it's the regional director. For provincial office, it's the provincial director. For DepEds, di ba, principal sa bawat schools. So, depende yun. It's the head of the agency who will approve, no? Next, claims against government funds shall be supported with complete documentation. So this is our job, no, to check as accountant, to check the completeness of the documents. Without complete documentation, then it's not a go. Okay, it's a no. Next, all laws and regulations applicable to financial transactions shall be faithfully adhered. So, connect kasi yan. So, ang dami nating rules and regulations as to kung paano tayo mag-spend. Transportation allowance lang, mas mahirap na marami ng rules. So, we really have to abide, no? Sa government, we really live by rules. And lastly, generally accepted accounting principles, the accepted principles and practices of accounting, as well as of sound management in fiscal administration shall be observed, provided they do not contravene existing laws and regulations. Okay, so patuloy naman yung development as long as wala tayong kino-contradict na laws and regulations. Okay? So this is just a reminder. Pagdating ng chapter 5, nandun na naman yung 8 na yan. Actually, when I start working with the government, yan, binabasa ko talaga siya. Okay? Next, what are the different types of budget, no? So as to kinds of budget, no, as to nature, yung iba dito I have already discussed, no, sa chapter 2. So when we say annual budget, it covers 1 year. The basis is the GAAP. Supplemental budget, yun yung mga ina-adjust natin. It's on a minus to other, then addition to others. And special budget, ito yung mga nasa special purpose. Those are items that provided in the GAA, no? Okay, next. As to basis. As to basis, no? Tanggalin natin. As to basis, we have the performance budget and the line item budget. Performance budget, these are for programs, emphasizing the programs or services conducted and based on functions and activities and projects which focus attention upon the general character or nature of work to be done or upon the services to be rendered. For an instance, ano ba yung pina-perform mong services? So yun yung madalas na program of activities mo. Halimbawa, dental o yung mga dental mission. So nandun, may mga item ka doon, may mga activities ka, may mga programs ka such as ano ba tawag doon sa mga, di ba mamimigay ka ng mga toothpaste, etc. for dental, so something like that. Line item budget. So when you say line item budget, it's a budget, the basis of which is the objects of expenditure. So per line item, kanina di ba dun sa chart of accounts, inisa-isa natin yung mga nasa PS. PS are salaries and wages, traveling sa MOOE, etc. blah, blah, blah. So those are line item budget. Okay. Next type is as to approach. So meron tayong zero-based budgeting and incremental approach. So when we say zero-based budgeting, a process which requires systematic consideration of all programs, projects, and activities with the use of defined ranking positions. In this approach, activities are analyzed and presented in decision package or key budgetary inclusions. So meaning, we always analyze dun sa activities na yon at kung ano yung budget na yun. Zero-based budgeting. So, wala tayong pinagbabasihan. Instead, nagbe-base tayo on the program itself. Unlike sa incremental kasi, we just only add, no? Dun sa halimbawa, meron tayong previous budget, we just add up. Then, we just have to justify na, kailangan i-increase kasi ganito. So, those are incremental approach of budget. Okay. Next will be the budget cycle. Okay. So this is the budget cycle. Budget cycle is the preparation, authorization, next is execution and accountability. Okay. Under budget preparation, so this is what happens, no? Under budget preparation. Okay, the Development Budget Coordination Committee sets parameters, no? Nagsiset sila ng parameters and guidelines in the preparation and submission of the agency budget proposal. Okay? And then, what they did is, they will be having a budget call. Ano ba yung sinasabi nating budget call? So, pag sinabi natin call, let's call for the budget, di ba? The budget preparation begins with the issuance of the budget call by the DBM. The budget call contains budget parameters, including the macroeconomic targets and fiscal targets and agency budget ceilings. So, yan yung tinatawag nating budget call. So, pagka meron ng budget call, meron tayong tinatawag na stakeholders consultation, no? So, kinoconsult yan, no, per department, per agency. So, yan yung ginagawa natin. Okay, next. After we do that, we have our agency budget proposal. So, may agency, ayan na, gagawa na tayo ng budget proposal per agency. Then, we have our budget hearing, executive review. Pag may executive review na, all you need to do is consolidate, validate ng BBM yan, then present to the president. Then, we have now the president's budget. No? Yan na. So, meron ng budget, no? Na nanggaling sa we have to present it to the office of the president. The president's budget contains the following documents which are intended to assist the Congress in the review and deliberations, no, before the budget legislation. We have the PBM, no, meron yan sa book ninyo eh. PBM, this contains the President's explanation of the country's fiscal policy and budget priorities. Then we have the budget of expenditures and sources of financing. This contains the estimated expenditures accompanied by estimates of expected sources. Then we also have the National Expenditure Program. This contains the details of all government entities' proposed expenditure in the coming year. And also we have some other documents, the details of key programs and projects, and staffing summary. Take note that the President shall submit the proposed budget to the Congress within 30 days from the opening of the regular session. I don't think, ewan ko kung meron ako ditong nilagay on how to do it. Ayan. So this is the budget process now, no? As early as January, there is a budget call, no? Then January to April, agencies have more time to flesh out proposals, align with priorities, and engage stakeholders. Then May and June for the deliberation. Then budget submitted right after the SONA. Budget legislation on schedule, yan yung August to December. Okay, so ito, October to December, that's early bidding. So ibig sabihin, binibid na nila yan yung mga yan upon pag sinabing bidding, yan yung mga, minsan binibid nila as early as ano, pero may tawag dun eh, I forgot the term sa bid. Parang prior mo i-award, no? Hindi mo pa naman i-award kasi bawal yun eh, kasi parang na-project mo na kung sino. Then, enacted on time and serve as a release document before end of December. So, dapat tapos na siya. Para sa January, early implementation as early as January, and citizens are more and more empowered throughout the process. So, ibig sabihin as early as now, imagine mo, no? Nagpalit ng president. So, paano yung paano yung transition? So, kaya as early as now, siguro nag-iisip na si Mr. President kung paano yan. Oh, anyway, accept naman niya yung mga deliberations ng agencies. Total, magkasundo naman sila. So, that's the budget process. Okay? So, next, we have the budget legislation. So, balikan ko na yung budget legislation. Ha? Okay. Under budget legislation, so tapos na, no, kay President. So, sasubmit na natin ngayon sa Congress, no? So, upon receipt of the President's budget, the House of Representatives will conduct hearing to scrutinize the various agencies' respective proposed program and expenditure. So, iisa-isahin na nila yan ngayon. Thereafter, the House of Representatives prepares the General Appropriations Bill. Okay. So, next. After that, pupunta na yan sa approval of the GAB na, yung General Appropriation Bill. Then, dadalhin na yan for Senate deliberations. The Senate conducts its own deliberations on the General Appropriation Bill or GAB from the House of Representatives. However, for expediency, hearings in the Senate start even as representatives' deliberations are ongoing. So, pwede na silang mag-start kahit na nag-start, nandun pa sa Congress para hindi tumagal, no? Then, after the Senate, magkakaroon ngayon ng approval ng Senate. So, sa upper house. After that, there will be having a bicameral deliberations wherein after deliberations in both houses, sa Congress and sa Senate, a committee called Bicameral Conference Committee is formed to harmonize any conflicts between representatives and Senate's versions of the General Appropriation Act. So magkikita sila doon. Then after ratification, kung meron man silang babaguhin, the final gov is submitted to the President for enactment. So the President now enacts the budget, which is now known as the General Appropriation Act. And before enactment, the President may exercise his veto power as confirmed to him under the Constitution. So when we say veto power, meron siyang pwedeng hindi i-approve doon, di ba? So power yun ng President. Okay? So, pagka nagawa na niya yun, meron na tayong tinatawag na general, meron na tayong tinatawag na, General Appropriation Act, which will be used sa January of next year. Okay. Next is the budget execution. So, may budget na tayo. It was approved. So, all we need to do is the agency now will submit BEDS. What is BEDS? No? Budget execution documents. Ano ang laman ng budget execution documents? Budget execution documents are summarized. No? It includes physical and financial plan, monthly cash program, estimate of monthly cash income, and list of obligations that are not yet due and demandable. So meaning, so yan yung laman ng BED, no? Kailangan makapakita mo kung ano yung kailangan mo, your physical and financial plan, monthly cash program. So the DBM issues guidelines on the release and utilization of funds while the various agencies submit their BEDs. Okay, so upon submission of the budget execution documents, the General Appropriation Act serves as allotment release documents for items, no, in the FCR, or FCR means for comprehensive release. So after ng BEDS, meron tayong tinatawag na the DVM formulates the allotment release program. So, yung allotment release program, di ba may appropriation? So, next, ipo-program natin on how are we going to release the funds. Okay, but before that, siguro I'll stop it here and continue on the next session. Okay?